Hi, I'm Rod Anderson with Smile with Sandbox, and today we're with Mike Melwicks. And Mike, tell us a bit about your company, tell us about yourself and your role in the organization, and tell us where you were coming into the tail end of 2019 and the early parts of 2020.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Rod. Pleasure to be with you today. But I run a transportation logistics business. We service United States and Canada, and we specialize in less than truckload freight. And that means it's called LTL is our industry term for it. And we handle anything from cosmetics to auto parts, food, anything non-perishable. And we consolidate at our terminal centers in Los Angeles and Dallas, for example, and San Francisco, and we ship that product back and forth to Canada. And we have multiple customers on our trucks. So we're kind of like a transport company, freight forwarder, freight broker. We handle everything for our customers, but that's our main internal business is consolidating freight, non-perishable goods in North America. So I think coming into this year, end of last year, we actually had a bit of a rough year just due to just unusual business climate with China in the U.S. We had a lot of port shipments, and the tariffs. People were scared, so they shipped a bunch last year, and so we kind of came off that a little bit stronger in the last year, and then this year it was, for lack of a better word, rocking, and we really had a great January, great February, and even though the pandemic struck in March, we really had a good March. And because people were, a bunch of different things happened for us. We went from hauling maybe goods that were like retail goods, like clothing and things like that when the malls were shut down, but everybody started working from home. So we handled a ton of monitors, for example. And, people needed office supplies at home. So, that type of thing was going on. So we had a good month. And then April, not so much, but did that answer your question?
Sure. Tell us, Mike, with the crisis, and you're going cross border, and that tell the people viewing this, what are some of the issues that you faced?
Cross border, I think there was. I think everybody was unsure what was going on. The news coming out, no one was sure what was happening. Things were moving very quickly. People thought maybe I can't do business with the U.S. or with Canada, vice versa. The border may be closed, in which case it was, but it was only to pedestrian traffic or land crossing for public. The transport was always open, and we actually went into a bit of a marketing push during this time to educate and keep our customers informed about what's going on. And we, hope to disseminate the information. It would get out that, everything was, all systems go in terms of trade. But there was things shutting down in terms of areas. California shut down quite early. We're heavily involved in California. And, on the flip side, Texas didn't really ever shut down for us. So we just kept everybody educated with what's going on, what was happening. We had some reduced hours, and things just really were. We played it, day by day.
What did your staff, the team there, how did you work with them through this? Were there any concerns that they had, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think people were uncertain, to say the least. And, I get calls at night and say, we're going to be shut down tomorrow in LA. And, they're going to close the borders. And, we just had like these doomsday scenarios coming from our staff because they would hear information and, from other people in different parts of the world and say, this is going to happen. And, I just looked at the whole thing from a very calm standpoint. It was extremely scary because you don't know yourself, but on the border end of things, I say, I've never seen the border shut down to trade. I saw it shut down in 9/11 for about 4 hours when they were uncertain of what was going on and what the external threat was to the country. And we knew this was a virus pandemic. So I think just calming, our staff, our vendors, our drivers, I had to write letters for my drivers because some of them lived in Vancouver Island and they wanted a letter to BC Ferries saying that they were essential services, which I was like, no problem. Let's get this done. Not a big deal. You're going to be okay. And so there's a lot of that conversation going on and just towing the line. That's one thing I remember from this whole thing is just, keeping a straight face and a very positive attitude.
Did you see any kind of disruption to your business, Mike? And tell us just how you dealt with anything like that.
We did see disruption. I would say we're about 7% down in our worst month, which was April. People closed and retailers closed. So any retail type merchandise we handled was basically shut down. And then we were dealing with a bit of a delay from China. China had shut their ports down too. So all those goods weren't getting into the Western ports and therefore created a little bit of a whip or a delay. So it was an interesting aspect for us. With this whole situation comes opportunity as well. So we saw things go into maybe a bit of the dumps, but in that comes opportunity, and we saw market capacity increase. We saw fuel prices drop. We saw available trucks to be had for our overflow. There's a lot of opportunity for us there, and people were appreciative that we were still busy. So I think we came out of very lucky. I have a lot of colleagues and friends that weren't so lucky. And we're really, the company was really well positioned. I'm paranoid by nature. And we were set up for the company. We really didn't skip a beat of this whole thing. We were set up for a pandemic, which is, I don't think many people can say that. But I always thought that, power outages and internet outages. So we're set up in multiple locations and, cloud-based everything. A lot of our staff works from home, so we really didn't skip a beat.
Wow. Unusual.
Yeah.
With most of the people that are out there. But great, good for you guys. Tell me, do you feel like we're coming out of this right now? And what would you like your organization or your leadership to be remembered as we see the other side of this crisis?
I think it just goes back to the last point that we were unshaken by this. I think that's all remembered by. I think we're going to come out of this. We're seeing a bit of a volume increase as of today. We're not back to pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic levels, but I think we'll get there by the end of the year. I don't think it's 2 years off or 3 years off or 4 years off. It's going to be, I look at a lot of industry, smart industry people in freight volumes in the US. There's not so much data in Canada per se, but in the US, there is a ton of data on truckload spot market, truckload LTL market, and they're showing end of this year that we should be back above, beginning of this year. So that's my take on things. I hope so.
That's great news. Thank you, Mike, and thanks for taking the time today.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Rob.